Okay, this video will use page 18 in the Unit 3 handout. And in this video, we're going to analyze how to graph from standard form by using what's called the intercepts, which would be the x-intercept and the y-intercept, which is where you would cross an axis. So that just means it's where you're going to cross each axis. And sometimes it's nice to graph an equation from this form, depending upon the numbers in the equation. So the equation must be in standard form. We'll just go through the how is this done. The equation must be in standard form, and I'm going to do a little bit different language than what's listed on this video. So let me get into a problem and I'll explain how I would like for you all to think about this. So let's look at number 1. The first thing to analyze is 3 and 2. Well, 6 is divisible by both 3 and 2. So the number, the constant, and remember here is our standard form generic equation. If C is divisible by both A and B, then graphing from standard form is actually pretty convenient. So if I look at number 1, I can see that 6 is divisible by 3 and 6 is also divisible by 2. So the way I would like for you to think about this, I would like for you to make a little T-chart and label it with X and Y. And we're going to let X become 0 and solve for Y. And then we'll let Y become 0 and solve for X. So if I let X become 0, then I'm simply left with negative 2Y equaling positive 6, and Y is negative 3. So when X is 0, Y is negative 3. That gives me the ordered pair to graph for that. And then if I let Y become 0, then I'm simply left with 3x equaling negative 6, therefore x is negative 2. So when y is 0, x is negative 2. So I now have 2 points to use to graph my equation. So I come to my graph and I first plot the point 0, negative 3, and here's my x-axis and my y-axis. So 0, negative 3, that's my y-intercept. And I'll just use my abbreviation. The y-intercept is where you cross the y-axis and the x-coordinate is 0. And then the other point, negative 2, 0, well, this is where I would cross the x-axis, so this is my x-intercept, and I'll just use the initials int for intercept. And it's easy to figure out what my slope is. It's like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So my slope here is going to be negative 3 over 2. And it's easy to see that my y-intercept is the point negative 3. And if I wanted to plot more points, I could just, I could plot some more points and then I could connect them up. Let's look at number 2. And in number 2, my C is by 1 and 4 is divisible by 2. So it looks like this is a good candidate for using the method where I solve each variable for 0 and find the intercepts. So once again, make your T-chart with X and Y. And we'll let X become 0, then we'll let Y become 0. So if X is 0, then the only thing that would remain would be 2Y equaling 4. Therefore, Y is 2. So when X is 0, Y is 2. And then if y is 0, then you're simply left with x equals 4. So x is 4. So I have 2 points to plot. So come to your graph. And we'll plot the points. I'll plot the point 0, 2. That's my y-intercept. And then I'll plot the point 4, 0. That's my x-intercept. And then I can see that my slope would be up to 1, 2, 3, 4. My slope is going to be up to and over 4 in the negative direction. So my slope for this line is negative 1/2. Or I could just continue the pattern on and plot more points if I needed to plot more points to this line. Let's do a few more on the video. Let's look at number 3. Well, the coefficient for each of these is 1 in number 3. So if I make my little T-chart, if I let x become 0, then I let y become 0. If x is 0, then all that remains is y equaling 3. And if y is 0, all that remains is that x equals 3. So I plot my points. My first is the point 0, 3. And then my second is the point 3, 0. And then I can see that my slope would be up 3 and over 3. And my line is falling from left to right, so that's a negative number. So my slope in this is really -1. And then my y-intercept is right here, the point 3. Let's look at number 4. Make your t-chart with your x and your y. 0 and 0. If x is 0, then I have 5y equaling 20, so y is 4. And then if y becomes 0, then I'm left with -4x equals 20, so x takes on the value of -5. So I have my two intercepts, and I plot my points. I plot the point 0, 4, and then I plot the point -5, 0. And I can see that my line will be climbing, so my slope's going to be positive. So my slope is +4 over 5. And I really don't think I can fit any more points on this graph, but just take a straight edge and connect the 2 points up. And let's move on. Let's do number 5 together on the video. So 4 is divisible by 4 as well as 1. So make your chart, x and y. And put your 0 values in, and let's calculate the others. If x is 0, then I have -y equaling -4. So that means that +y equals +4. So the variable value you're solving for should always be positive. So if the variable's negative, then divide both sides by a -1 to get rid of that. And now let's see what happens when y becomes 0. So when y is 0, I'm left with +4x equaling -4, which would mean x is -1. So here I would have x is -1. So let's plot the points. So the first point is 0, 4. And then the second point is -1, 0. So this line is positive, and my slope would be up 4 and over 1. So my slope is 4 over 1. My y-intercept is 4. And just take I could probably plot another point, so I could go down 4 and over 1. So I could fit one more point on this graph. And then let's do number 6 together on the video, and then you can finish the other page by yourself for practice. So number 6, you can see that 45 is divisible by both 9 and 15. So make your t-chart. Slip your 0 values in. And let's see, if x is 0, then you're simply left with 15y is 45, and y is 3. And then if y becomes 0, you're left with 9x equaling 45, so x is 5. So here are my points, 0, 3, and 5, 0. So you can see that in order to connect those lines, I would be falling, so that means that my slope is negative. So if I count up 3 and over 5, my slope in this problem is -3 over 5. And I'll let you finish the others on your own for practice.